صباح الخير أحبائي، معكم منى من قناتي. الورقة ولايات اللي بنكبهم نحن نستعملهم ونعمل فيهم شي حلو.
The first thing we are going to do is melt pieces of paraffin in a double boiler. We can use pieces of candles that we no longer need. We can also use different containers such as cans or pots. Now, we are going to make our own candle holders, and for that, we are going to use rope or cotton cord. We are going to cut small pieces of approximately 20 centimeters. If you can find ready-made candle holders in your country, you can use them without any problem. Then, we are going to soak them in one of the pots where we are going to melt paraffin. Then, to give our paraffin color, we can use different types of dyes, such as powdered pigments. I use oils because they work really well for me, but we can also use the crayons that kids use at school without any problem. I'm going to add a little bit of essence. In this case, I'm using essential oils so that they dissolve really well in the paraffin. After a while, when the cotton cords have soaked well, we're going to take them out with the help of a skewer and start stretching them. We can run them under the tap with cold water, or we can simply stretch them like this and put them on a counter and let them cool. Now, while we wait for the paraffin to continue melting, we're going to prepare our molds. For that, we're going to need a piece of cardboard from a box that you have at home. We're going to make a hole in the center, and we're going to glue the cardboard that we have left from the toilet paper rolls. We're going to use the hot glue gun, and we're going to apply 2 or 3 turns of silicone. This is to make sure that the paraffin doesn't come out through the edges. Let's let it cool thoroughly. Now, for another candle shape, we're going to press this toilet paper roll like this. We're going to glue any loose cardboard. And do the same on our base. We're going to make a hole in the center and glue our cardboard. Don't forget that we have to put a lot of silicone on and let this cool thoroughly before using it. Once the silicone is cold, we're going to put the candle in. To do that, we're going to cut one of the ends of the candle so that it looks really neat, and we're going to put it through the hole that we made. Now, with a little bit of school plasticine that children use in school, we're going to seal this really well so that the paraffin doesn't come out through there. I recommend that you don't use this thick, corrugated cardboard that we sometimes have at home, because as I'm going to explain, once we make the hole, the paraffin enters through there and starts to come out through these holes. That's why I don't recommend it, but I'm going to show you how to fix it anyway if you only have that cardboard. I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to glue a roll of toilet paper to one of these pieces of cardboard, and I'm going to show you what happens. Now we're going to take the paraffin that's already melted. We're going to let it cool a little bit, and we're going to start pouring into our molds. Here I recommend that the paraffin has melted, but not too hot. To keep the turkey from moving, we can use a skewer. Now I'm going to take the blue color. We're pouring it like this. And here I'm using the corrugated cardboard. As you can see, the paraffin is starting to come out through the holes. But if you don't move the mold and leave it like this, you'll see that the paraffin cools down and it'll automatically stay there. Now, since the ideal way to use these molds is not to use paraffin that's too hot, one of my favorite techniques is the following. Pour the slightly cooler paraffin wax into a bowl and start beating it with a fork. You can also do this with an electric mixer, but it's easier to do it by hand and it won't dirty your mixer. Begin beating as if you were beating an egg until it starts to form granules. When it does, start pouring it into the mold like this. Press down a little with the fork from time to time so that the paraffin wax gets in well. By using the slightly cooler paraffin wax, you won't have any problems with the wax coming out anywhere. It's ideal when you make these types of homemade molds and you don't want to have any problems. We've already done this technique in a previous video. I'll leave the link in the description so you can out. Here I'm going to use all the glue I have with the little bit of pink I have left, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing. mix it like this until it cools down a bit, and we're going to pour this into our mold. This type of homemade mold doesn't need us to add a release agent because later we're going to break the cardboard off as much as we can, and we're going to be able to use all this paraffin again. We just have to empty it into one of the cans and leave it there until the next opportunity. Then, both these plates and the forks and knives that we're going to use while making our candles, we're going to wash them with hot water and they'll come out perfectly. After a few hours, when the candles have cooled, we can unmold them. To do this, we are going to start by breaking the cardboard like this, and you will see that it comes off very easily. We cut off the excess candlestick, and later I will show you how we are going to
أحبائي
refine the bottom part.
شلته من
We are
الكرتونة.
going to continue unmolding our candles. You will see that we do it very easily.
مش منزل.
One small detail that you have to keep in mind when we make candles with this type of cardboard is that the candles will not be completely shiny. They always come out with a slightly rougher, coarser texture and are not as shiny. That is why we are going to work on these types of candles later with other types of textures and in other ways. I will show you how and give you some ideas. The base will always sink a little, but I will show you how to fix it. Here I have another one to show you how they look quite rustic, and we'll fix them later. Now, this is something I wanted to show you. Since paraffin is greasy, I've used all hot paraffin here. You can see that the cardboard absorbs the oil, see? And that's why we don't need to use a mold release agent. We're simply going to start removing the cardboard and it will come off without any problem. The candle does look a little rough, but that can be fixed with the type of technique or the type of decoration we're going to put on the candle. Now, some of them look very nice, as rustic as they come out. To refine the base part, we're simply going to pass the candles through a hot pan, and you'll see how it starts to flatten out and it looks perfect. In some candles that have a slightly deeper indentation, we may not be able to make it disappear completely, but it will be hidden quite well. In some cases, we can pull the candle back a little more to flatten it out much better. And we do it this way. You won't be scared at this point. If the pan starts to smoke a little, it's because it has very little paraffin and it's starting to evaporate. But we're going to refine it as quickly as possible. And everything that's left in the pan can be emptied into one of the cans for next time. I love the shape of this one. We're going to use a pressed flower. Here I have a pansy that I've pressed. These flowers look beautiful. And we're going to adhere it to the candle using the spoon and heat technique. We're simply going to heat a spoon like this. And then we're going to start rubbing the flower like this. We do it carefully so as not to break it. And you'll see how the flour adheres perfectly to our candle.
شفتوا أحبائي كيف عم
Now I'm
تلزقها
going to use a dimensional paint.
بالنار.
I use this metallic textile dimensional paint that we've used in several projects. We simply make sure that the applicator is uncovered, and we are going to start making some little flourishes. Here you can let your imagination run wild, and you can make the types of designs that you like the most. Here I am going to make some small flourishes that go in all directions, and we are going to let this dry very well. And look how pretty and elegant this candle looks with such a simple design. Now we cut off the excess wick and our candle is ready. Now for this blue one, we are going to first cut the wick, and we are going to hide all this part that looks very rough with a technique that is grating our candle. Here we are going to use the thick part of the grater that we use in the sponge. We're going to use these kitchen sponges. We simply take a little bit, remove the excess, and start rubbing it very gently on our candle. This way, you'll see how all the lines we've formed with the grater are perfectly noticeable. And that's why I say that when you work with brown paraffin, this looks like a trunk, but tell me if this texture doesn't look beautiful. In this way, we're going to rub the entire candle, and when we're done, we're also if they don't look spectacular, and the best of all is that we made them ourselves in a very easy and economical way, and above all,
وصلنا لآخر حلقة اليوم. إن شاء الله يكون عجبكم اللي قدمت لكم إياه اليوم. إن شاء الله
They're a perfect
مثل العادة أحبائي رح نختمها بموسيقى من الخيال